Hello, Warriors, and welcome back to another episode of Battle Arts Studios. I hope everyone had some great holidays and had also time to spend with family and friends, as well as have some time for yourselves. Well, I hope everyone are ready for this first episode. So let's do it. Alright, on today's episode, we'll be working on one of my favorite minifigures in the Warhammer 40k franchise, the Dreadnought. Now, I couldn't get a Venerable Dreadnought, okay, but on the other hand, I got the Redemptor Dreadnought. And yes, I know a lot of people don't like it and all that because they prefer more the classic model. But in my opinion, even in the lore, Games Workshop is already changing the old classic models for the new ones like the Redemptor, the Brutalist, and all that. So, in my opinion, even down the road, Games Workshop will replace these ones for some newer models that they're gonna come out. Perhaps not right now in the next few years, but over the next couple decades. So, let's go. So, the Redemptor Dreadnought. I know many of you are familiar with the box and the contents inside, but I like to do just an unboxing and show you what's inside. Also for all the new people who are just starting this hobby, so they know exactly what's inside. And pretty much what it is mostly just show you how to put it all together, as well as the different weapon systems that it comes with, and as well as the stats and all that for the weapon systems. Now for this one in particular, I already put it together and prime it. Now you guys see that there are many pieces right there, and in my opinion, especially if you are just starting this hobby, don't try to complicate yourself. If you think the minifigure is too complicated to paint it in one piece, just put it together in a few pieces. Alright, paint it and then glue it all together at the end and finish fixing the few things left right there. It's not an issue. All right. Also, I put some magnets on the weapon systems for this dreadnought. Now I'm gonna show you in a different video how to do that, some easy ways and stuff like that. Oh, and before we begin, so for this particular model, I'm going to inspire on the actual box model for this one. Of course, I will add some modifications and some of my designs right there. So we will begin by painting the body with Macrack blue, and I'm going to use a brush for this one. Now, I know a lot of you will ask why not use an airbrush for a smoother end or just prime it blue from the beginning. And the reason is, one, I don't have an airbrush. Okay, but another reason is because using the brush, it allows me to actually leave kind of like not a smooth surface on the minifigure. And if any of you are familiar of how the armor platings for vehicles work and everything, you will notice that armor plating is really not a smooth surface. It's a very rough surface. Most of the times it's just the metal cast right there into that form and just some paint over it. And by using brush, it allows me actually to give that detail. It's just a little bit more realistic look to the minifigure. That is just in my opinion. Now, after most of the body is done, I'm going to continue with the front of the sarcophagus, which I'm going to use white brass metallic paint. Two types of green, one lighter and one darker one. That is just to give a little dry brushing effect on the leaves in front of the sarcophagus. As well as I'm gonna use some red on it. Now, for the edges of the coffin itself, I'll be using both silver and gold paint. Now, I don't know if any of you or anybody else tried this technique before, but I like to start by painting all the areas that I need silver until pretty much everything is completed. Now, after this, I'm gonna water down the gold paint as much as I can without making it lose its own integrity. And then I'm gonna paint over the silver. This, in my opinion, gives a softer gold color compared when you use the color itself, making it look not overwhelming. Next, I'll be using a darker metallic color to dry brush all the areas that I want them to look like old dirty metal. For this, you can use a brush made for dry brushing, but if you really don't want to spend too much money on it and just want to save a little bit, just use an old brush that is too damaged to just use it normally for painting. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just using an old brush right there. Now, this technique right here is a simple technique that I like to use all the time, because even for vehicles or any type of mechs, whenever they start moving and working or going into battle, pretty much they always get in contact with mud, the metal gets scratched, oil spills and all that. So at the end of the day, pretty much that smooth surface ends up damaged and stuff like that. That's why I like to use this technique of dry brushing using a dark metal color. It's easy and simple and actually gets the job done pretty well without have to spending too much time on just painting one piece for hours and hours. Now for the life support tubes, you have a little bit more freedom right there. Like I said before, I'm gonna inspire from the model on the box for this one. And I'm just gonna use some simple colors. Again, you can use just the colors that you think will be the best one for your minifigure. So, early I left this part unpainted, and it's because I want to make this dreadnought look a little bit more like it's been through some battle. And if any of you are familiar with like the military or seen some documentaries, you will notice that when a vehicle who's been through combat and all that has some armor plating damage, usually those pieces of armor plating, they get replaced, but most of the times you actually don't get the exact color of your vehicle, or most of the times you get it just white or yellow from manufacturer. And that's actually the detail that I wanted to put, just having a dreadnought that is being through some battle and they are just swapping the armor platings right there immediately, putting some spray paint on them for the markings, and boom, send it back to combat. And that's pretty much what I want to do here. Now, by doing this effect, I'm gonna use the same technique as before, using the dry brushing and the dark metallic color. Now, after this, I will give the effect of a spray paint over the metal, and I'm just gonna use a very fine brush and some freehand techniques as well. And also I'm gonna make the markings look like the paint was a little bit chipped, or the paint itself is fading. Again, some people use a small brush for this effect, but I just use my old brush, which in my opinion accomplished the same purpose. Now that we are done with this part, we are gonna do the exact same thing for the rest of the dreadnought. Alright, now that most of our dreadnought is painted, we're gonna move to the damage effect part. Now, for this one, I'm gonna demonstrate it on this small piece. Now, I apologize beforehand because I couldn't keep that piece center of the camera, but we'll try to do our best. Now, like I said before, some people prefer a small sponge. I like to use my old brush. And how we're gonna do it is we're gonna use some black paint, just doing some spot marks around that little piece. After it's done and you feel like it's good enough for you, we're gonna use some metallic paint. For this one, you can just use any metallic paint that you feel will be the best one for your minifigure. In my opinion, for this one, I'm using silver paint. And the same thing, we're gonna do just some spot paints on the entire piece right there. And just try to make it look a little bit damaged. You know, if you feel like it needs more, or you're trying to work on different effects, you know, based on these same techniques, it's up to you. Now, after this part is done, we're gonna do a little bit of edge highlight, and for that we're gonna use a lighter color than the piece itself. So on this one in particular, since I use McCrack blue, I'll be using Thunderhawk blue. And this is just to give that effect that even the color itself has been fading over time, some chips here and there, and pretty much just give a little bit more that look of damage. Now that you know how to do this, we're gonna do the exact same technique for the rest of the Dreadnought. Oh, and before I forget, for the front of the sarcophagus, I know we left this part right here, the white part, untouched, but to give it a little bit of contrast, I use Earthshade contrast paint, just to give it a quick wash around it, so the white paint is not too overwhelming and takes pretty much all the focus just on there. Now that the entire body of the Dreadnought is done, we will move to the weapons. Alright, and for this, we will start with the same metallic dry brush as early, as well as adding some other details on the model, depending on your preference. Now, I don't like to complicate myself, so I'm using different metallic colors to give a difference between each part. For the Macroplasma Incinerator, I will be using the white paint on the front area of the weapon, and also I'm gonna give a light blue color to give it that appearance of plasma effect. Finally, I'll give a few touches with blue contrast paint as if the weapon is powering up or charging. For the Gatling cannon, I will use the same effects as before, using different metallic colors for each part of the weapon. And for the barrel, I'll be using yellow and red color to give a red hot effect on them. As well as for the heat shield. Since the barrels are hot, it makes sense the heat shield should have also some type of heat effect on it. Now, it's not gonna look red hot as the barrel, but it should show some sort of heating effect on it. And for that, I'll be using blue and purple contrast paint to give that effect as if the heat is dissipating from the barrels. Oh, and also before I forget, for the purity seals, like I said before, I don't like to complicate myself so much, so I'm just using some red paint for the wax seals itself and some white for the paper. Now, after you finish whatever effect that you want to have on the paper, I'm using some brownish contrast paint on it, just to give it that effect that is old, pretty much. Alright, so we're almost done. So now for the base of the Dreadnought. Now, I was thinking not to do anything at the beginning, but at the same time, I already spent so much time and effort making it look like it's been through some battle and all that, just to leave the base without anything. So in this case, I actually customized the base, and I used some leftover materials that I have here at home. And when I was actually gluing it, you can glue it either with super glue or the best thing that you can find in the stores. Now here in my house I have this industrial paint called 790 multi-purpose. I know they sell those only for contractors, but if you have it, you can use it. It's actually great, and I like it because the glue dries pretty fast. Now for this one in particular, I also added some sand effects as well as any other small details like small stones, rocks, just to give it a better look like a battlefield. So at this point of the process, if you feel like your base is good enough for your minifigure, that is perfectly fine. Me, in my opinion, I actually prime it because I wanted to add a little bit more on it, using pretty much different shades of paint to give it different effects right there, like mud and moss and things like that. And again, just remember, when you are doing this, don't try to complicate yourself. Just go with what it feels more natural, to be honest. And a lot of this is just trust the process. After this, I glue part of the dreadnought to the base. And pretty much I finish it off with some mud effects and some vegetation until I finally got to the point that I wanted. Now that we're done, behold the dreadnought. Well, I hope all you warriors enjoyed today's episode, and thank you for your support. Again, everyone subscribing, thank you very much. It means a lot to me. And if you are new to this channel and you want to see more videos in the future, click in the subscribe button. And also, if you have any suggestions or comments, just please write it in the comment section and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. Well, without anything else, I hope everyone have a great day and I'll see you all next time. Bye!